about the world today, and I learn this every day in the work we do with governments in different parts of the world, including some of the most difficult parts of the world, in Africa and the Middle East, Far East, and so on. So what you see is that everything is mobile, except two things are not mobile. The basic human capital of a country, even with migration, you have stock of human capital, and government is not mobile, right? You can't import the government, but you can import capital, you can import technology. But those things, how you run government effectively and how you develop the human capital of a country, those two things a country has to do by itself, and it's got to take the right decisions and make the right choices, because in today's world, the development of that human capital and the ability of governments to do that is integral to economic prosperity. No country is going to succeed unless they educate their people well. And therefore, anything that counteracts the education of all the people is a problem. It's a problem not just socially, it's a problem for the country's future prosperity. And that's why religious bigotry or prejudice against religion or the suppression of religious freedom, these are things that are problems for a country, because in the end, it means you exclude a certain portion of your human capital. And you also then inculcate in the other parts of your society an attitude that's negative and hostile towards those that are different. And all of that runs against what you need to do in order to educate your people well, to make them comfortable at a world that comes together today. I mean, even with all the trends against globalization, still today, we are moving together, more integrated, more recognizing the necessity to work across boundaries of nation, faith, race, and culture than ever before. And so anything that stands in the way of the freedom of your people to express themselves in the way that they believe is appropriate and right in terms of their religious belief, that is not just wrong in itself, it's an obstacle to the development of a country. And you know, in the end, I have a very, very clear belief that ultimately liberty is an important part of progress, not just morally and not just socially, but economically too.
Let me ask you this question as a follow-up. You were talking about you're seeing these trends around the world and feeling perhaps reassured by some of them. We do see places like China with the Uyghurs with treatment there. We see it in Burma as well. So if you could, just in a broad sense, as you look across the world, talk about these trends in terms of religious freedom, which way you think this needle may be moving.
So I think you can look across the world today and you can see certain situations in which there is suppression of religious belief and religious freedom. You know, you can think of those examples very easily and identify them. But I don't think there's any situation in which that happens which isn't a significant long-term problem for the country doing it. So in the end, China will have to come to a different way of treating the province of Xinjiang if it wants to be truly a united country. Any form of nationalism that ends up as religious nationalism directed at a minority community, it's going to destroy a country's possibility of progress. And religious extremism, the abuse particularly of Islam and turning it into a political ideology, that has been the bane of the Middle East and remains the bane of the Middle East. And I've got to hope that in the end, that truth that religious freedom is also an important part of liberties and also an important part of progress comes through. And the one thing I'm sure of is that in the end, the younger generation coming up today, they're not going to want to live in a society. The talented, smart people are not going to want to live in a society or develop their potential if they see others around them treated badly or denied their freedom because of their convictions or belief.